My spoiled sister stole my saving money for her lavish wedding. So, I sued her and cut her off. I'm 29 male. I grew up in a pretty normal family, at least I thought it was normal. We weren't rich, but we got by. My mom and dad are retired now, living off pensions. My younger sister, Sarah, who's 26, was always a little spoiled, but I figured that was just typical sibling stuff. We weren't super close, but we didn't hate each other or anything. But all of that changed when she decided to have a damn destination wedding. So, Sarah got engaged to her boyfriend of 2 years. This guy is a real piece of work, talks big about his business ventures, but never seems to actually have a job. I didn't like him much, but whatever. He wasn't my problem. Or at least I didn't think he was. Fast forward a few months, and Sarah announces she's having this fancy-ass destination wedding. Some tropical island, sunset on the beach, cocktails in hand, the whole deal. She sent this long email to the family about how much it meant to her and how this was her dream wedding and blah blah blah. Fine, right? Except the part where she basically expected everyone else to chip in. Now, our family's not rolling in cash, my parents don't have that kind of money, and I sure as hell wasn't planning on throwing away my savings for her wedding. I figured she and her fiancé would realize how insane it was and maybe scale things back. But no! Instead, about a month later, I checked my bank account to see that almost all of my savings are gone. Like $40,000 just gone. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. There's no way that money could be gone just like that. So, I called the bank in a panic, and after waiting on hold for what felt like forever, I finally got someone to tell me what happened. They said the money was transferred to a joint account that I shared with my mom. A joint account I'd completely forgotten about because I hadn't used it in years. I was stunned. I didn't even know what to think at that point. But there was only one explanation. My mom took the money. I called her immediately, my heart pounding. When she picked up, she sounded so casual, like nothing had happened. I didn't even bother with small talk. "Mom, did you take money out of my savings?" I asked, trying to keep calm. There was a pause, and then she said, "Oh yes, honey, I did." Just like that. Like it wasn't a big deal. Why? What the hell, Mom? Where's the money? She hesitated, then said, "Well, your sister needed help with the wedding, and I thought since you're doing well, you wouldn't mind contributing." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Contributing? You took $40,000 of my savings without even asking me, and you're calling it contributing? That money was for my house, Mom. She actually had the nerve to sigh, like I was the one being unreasonable. I knew you'd be upset, but Sarah really needs this. It's her special day, and you've been doing so well. You'll be able to save up again. You're young. You have time. That I just sat there, staring at the phone, completely stunned. I felt like I was in a bad dream. "Mom, that's my money. You can't just take it because Sarah wants a big, fancy wedding. This is insane." She kept going, still calm like she had rehearsed it. "I'm sorry, honey, but family helps family. Sarah is your sister. It's important to her, and I thought you'd understand." I hung up. I didn't trust myself to keep talking without losing it. I was shaking with anger. $40,000. I'd worked my ass off for years, saving every penny to put a down payment on a house. And it was just gone. And for what? A fucking destination wedding? I wasn't gonna let this slide. I called Sarah next. I didn't even try to be polite. "Did you know about this?" I demanded as soon as she answered. She didn't even act surprised. "Yeah, I knew. What's the big deal? You're doing fine. It's just some money. Mom said she'd talk to you." My blood was boiling. "It's not just some money, Sarah. It's $40,000. That's my life savings. You can't just take it because you want a fancy wedding. What the hell is wrong with you?" Her tone shifted, getting defensive. "Don't be so dramatic. It's not like we're asking you to pay for the whole thing. We just needed a little help. You're doing fine. So why are you making such a big deal out of this?" I couldn't even respond. I just hung up again. They clearly thought they could walk all over me, and I'd just roll with it. But I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I took a few days to cool off, but the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. They didn't ask. They didn't even care how I felt. They just took what they wanted and expected me to go along with it because family. Screw that. So I did the only thing I could think of. I filed a lawsuit against them, against my own mom and sister. I knew it would blow up the family, but at that point I didn't care. They had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to just let them get away with it. When my mom got served with the papers, she called me in tears, saying she couldn't believe I would do this to the family. She said I was being selfish and ruining Sarah's wedding. She even had the nerve to say, "It's not like you can't make the money back. It's just money." I stood my ground. "It's my money, and you stole it. You had no right to take it. Either you give it back, or we'll let the court handle it." Sarah called me the next day, furious. "Are you really going to drag this through the courts? Over some money? You're ruining my wedding." "I'm not ruining anything. You and Mom did that when you decided to steal from me." I shot back. She actually had the gall to say, "If you don't drop this lawsuit, I'll never forgive you. You'll lose me as a sister." Is that what you want? Honestly, Sarah? After what you did? I don't give a damn. You made your choice when you took my money. I'm not backing down. From there, the guilt trips and manipulative tactics came in full force. My mom tried everything to make me drop the case. She showed up at my apartment one day, all soft-spoken and emotional. "Please, honey," she said, putting on her best sad face. "We're family. This is tearing us apart. Do you really want to go to court over this? People will find out. It'll be embarrassing for everyone." I crossed my arms. "Embarrassing? You stole from me. You should be embarrassed, not me." She switched tactics. "Sarah is really struggling. You know she's always had a hard time. She needs this wedding to be perfect. She doesn't have what you have. Can't you just help her just this once?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "This isn't about helping her, Mom. You two took my money behind my back. There's no coming back from that." She left in a huff after that. But they weren't done. The next day, my aunt called saying I was tearing the family apart and how I should just let it go because Sarah only gets one wedding that I wasn't budging. I'd had enough of being guilt-tripped. Weeks passed, and the court date finally arrived. Sarah and Mom showed up, looking polished and trying to play the victims. Sarah cried a little when she talked about how important the wedding was to her. But none of it mattered. I had the evidence, the bank statements, the unauthorized transfer. It was open and shut. The judge didn't take long to rule in my favor. They were ordered to pay me back every cent. I thought I'd feel a rush of victory. But really, I just felt tired. They had tried to manipulate me, guilt-trip me, blackmail me into dropping the case. And in the end, they still thought they were the victims. After the court ruling, they went radio silent for weeks. No calls, no texts. I guess they were hoping I'd cool down and let things go back to normal. Then, out of nowhere, my mom called me one day. I let it go to voicemail. When I finally listened, it was the same old bullshit. "I'm sorry if you felt hurt, but you have to understand why we did what we did." She said, "You're doing well and your sister needed help. Family is supposed to help each other. No apology for stealing from me. No taking responsibility, just more manipulation." They didn't care about what they did. They just wanted everything to go back to the way it was before. I didn't bother calling her back. What was the point? They were never going to see what they did was wrong. They just didn't care. And I wasn't about to spend the rest of my life pretending like everything was fine. After the court case, it was crystal clear that my mom and Sarah would never take responsibility for what they did. To them, I was the villain for making a big deal out of just some money. Weeks turned into months. And during that time, I finally managed to get my finances back in order. The court had ordered Sarah and Mom to pay me back. But it was slow. My lawyer warned me it might take a while for them to actually come up with the money. And sure enough, they dragged their feet. They probably thought if they made the process annoying enough, I'd eventually just drop it. But I didn't. I kept every receipt, every record, and stayed on top of it like my life depended on it. The whole thing wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about the betrayal, about how they saw me as nothing more than a cash machine to fund Sarah's dream life. Every time I got a notice of a partial payment, I was reminded that it wasn't just the cash they stole. It was my trust. About 6 months after the court ruling, I got another voicemail from my mom. This one wasn't calm or manipulative like the last one. No, this time she was angry. "Are you happy now?" She started, her voice shaking. Your sister is miserable. She doesn't talk to me anymore because of the stress you caused with this lawsuit. You've broken this family. I hope you're proud of yourself. You chose money over your family. I remember sitting there, listening to the voicemail, and just laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was so pathetic. Even after everything, they still couldn't see what they'd done. I hadn't chosen money over family. They had. They made that choice the moment they decided that Sarah's wedding was more important than my future. I never responded to that voicemail either. In the months that followed, I bought my house. It wasn't the dream house I had originally been planning for, but it was mine. I walked through the front door the first day with a sense of pride that had nothing to do with the building itself. It was about the fact that I stood my ground, even when my own family tried to steamroll me. The money was part of it, yeah, but more than that, I'd learned something valuable. Family doesn't get to walk all over you just because you share blood. There has to be respect, and if there isn't, you're allowed to protect yourself. You don't owe anyone, not even family, the right to steal from you, manipulate you, or guilt trip you into submission. I still hear from Sarah every now and then, mostly through passive-aggressive messages on social media. She still hasn't forgiven me for ruining her wedding. As far as I'm concerned, if she really thinks her wedding was worth blowing up our relationship over, then that's on her. And my mom? She's tried a few more times to call or send me emails, still trying to play the victim. I don't respond. I know that sounds cold, but at some point you have to draw a line. I didn't want to cut them off, but they forced my hand. It's not about holding a grudge. It's about protecting myself from people who clearly don't give a damn about me beyond what I can offer them. Do I regret it? Not for a second. It's hard. Yeah, but sometimes standing up for yourself means losing people who you thought would always have your back. In the end, I've learned that just because someone is family doesn't mean they're always good for you. Take care, and don't let anyone, family or not, walk all over you. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.